Olivia! So today I'm really excited because today I have a book talk for you guys, which is a book review, whichever one you guys want to call it, I don't really care. So this part is going to be the first two books, City of Bones and City of Ashes, and the next part will be City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, and the last one will be City of Lost Souls, and obviously so on and so forth, and then the next one will be City of Heavenly Fire when it comes out. But today I am reviewing the first two books in the Mortal Instrument series, City of Bones and City of Ashes. Just look at the covers, guys. Like, I'm mesmerized just by the covers. Like, I don't even look at them. They're beautiful. For those of you who don't know, the Mortal Instrument series is by the lovely Cassandra Clare. And for those of you who haven't heard of the Mortal Instrument series but have heard of Cassandra Clare, it's probably because you've heard of her other series, The Infernal Devices. So that's probably why you've heard of her. Other than that, if you haven't heard of her, you live under a rock. For those of you who do not know what the Mortal Instrument series is about, it is about a girl named Clary Frey, and she lives in New York, Brooklyn, and she basically believes that she's a perfectly normal American teenager, and soon does she realize that she's not. She goes to the Pandemonium Club one day with her best friend Simon, and she basically sees three people kill this dude, and she's like, what in the world? Why would you kill a human? And then she feels all weird because she's the only one who can see them. Her best friend can't see them, nobody else can see them, and that's because she has this sight, because she is a shadow hunter, and that boy they killed was a demon. Not a boy, it's a demon. So soon does she realize that she is a shadow hunter. And those of you who don't know, a shadow hunter is a half-human, half-angel person thing that basically has these special powers and stuff like that. Well, not like magical powers. Well, I guess it sort of is magical powers, but they are given the power to kill demons and fight them off and hunt them down and stuff like that, to protect the mundane world, which is the human world, the mundane world, and the shadow world, which is the shadow world. The shadow world is the world that shadow hunters live in, obviously, and they have to protect not only the shadow world but the human world. So that's kind of no pressure there, even though the whole entire world, the fate of the whole entire world is on your shoulders. No pressure there. I'm going to begin reviewing City of Bones, obviously, since City of Bones is the first book in the series, and I am going to be looking down a lot because I have like my list of things right here. Can you guys see my list? So I'm going to be looking down a lot. I'm going to be holding my phone and looking down and talking about it. So, let's get started with City of Bones. City of Bones is 485 pages, and I read it in 2 days. That's how good the first book was. Even though obviously you're not going to get, you're not going to fall in love with it. Obviously, when you read the first book, you have to read the entire series to be able to fall in love with it. But this book was so good. Now keep in mind, I am doing this video from the perspective of a girl who has read all 5 of the books, and not a perspective of a girl who has read just one of the books. So I'm going to kind of discuss the characters' development all throughout 5 books, not just the first book, so just kind of hang in there with me. The first thing that I really found really intriguing, or really cool, anyways, was how Cassandra Clare brought these 3 different worlds together. There is the down world / shadow world, but I think that they're different worlds from my perspective. They're different worlds. And then there's the mundane world, and the mundane world is where all the humans live. The shadow hunter world, or the shadow world, is obviously where the shadow hunters come from. And the down world kind of mixes in with the shadow world, but the down world is the vampires and the werewolves and the fairies and the Lilith's children, which is warlocks, that kind of thing. And demons just kind of lurk everywhere throughout all 3 of the worlds. And I think it's really cool how Cassandra kind of brings them all together, and it's not like it's 3 separate worlds, it's 3 worlds conjoined into one. Because when you're walking around in the human world, if you don't have the sight, you won't see anything that involves the shadow world. You won't see the Institute, you won't see anybody who is a shadow hunter, you won't see them if they're glamored. Like, you'll have no idea that they're there. The next thing that literally, I think this was the number one thing that got me hooked on the books was the characters. Um, Obviously the characters, it's really fun to be a book person because when the movie comes out, it's like, I don't like them because of their, it's like, I don't like them because of their looks. I fell in love with them because of what they said and how they act. So it's like, I fell in love with what they said and I fell in love with their actions and their soul. I didn't fall in love with the way they looked. So I just think that's really cool for me to be able to say that because I started reading the books before the whole cast was like introduced. Like, I knew about the movie, but I didn't know who was going to play any of them. So I read the books first, and I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, I kind of fell in love with what they said and who they were instead of the people. All of the characters develop so much throughout all 5 of the books, and keep in mind, this is a 3-month period. It's not like 2 years, it's 3 months in 5 books. I'm going to start with Clary. So Clary, you know, at the beginning of City of Bones, she's basically, you know, she's strong mentally, mainly just because, you know, a lot's happened to her in her life and that kind of thing. And she's got a really strong bond with her family. She has a strong bond with Luke. She has a best friend, Simon, and she has a strong bond with Simon. That kind of thing. And at first, Clary is like, she's not strong physically. Um, she's decent mentally, but like physically, and she's just like, you don't see, she's shy. She's not really, she doesn't really enjoy the way she looks at all. When you read City of Lost Souls and you finish it, you're just like, wow, because Clary changes so much throughout all 5 books. The beginning of City of Bones, she's not physically strong at all, and then at the end of City of Lost Souls, she's so physically different. She's physically stronger. She's mentally stronger. She's not shy anymore. She has friends. Like, she's not afraid to talk to people. You know, she's killed people before, so it's just like, oh, it's not a big deal anymore. And like, she turns into a shadow hunter at the end of City of Lost Souls. And then Jace, I believe, was the number 1 thing that got me hooked on the books because Jace was such an interesting character. Not just because he's a love interest, because I didn't expect her to fall in love with Jace until it happened. And so, like, at the beginning of City of Bones, Jace is this guy who's just like, you know what, I can get whoever I want, it don't matter. Like, he's incredibly cocky, and he's just like, he's probably been with 30 other girls, and then he meets Clary, and all this stuff happens to her, or how this stuff happens to him. Like, he's never felt love before, basically, and he does with Clary. And so at the end of City of Lost Souls, you've seen so many sides of him you've never seen. You've seen him vulnerable, and that's not really what happens. Like, Jace is not vulnerable until he meets Clary. And then Simon, the best friend of Clary, he just, like, I just love him in general. At the beginning of City of Bones, obviously, he's just this, you know, normal human, and even going into City of Ashes, he just, you know, he knows about the Shadow World and the demons and stuff, so he's like, and he's had a battle with the Shadow Hunters, and when he wasn't, you know, when he was a human and he didn't know what was going on, he was like, okay, like, he didn't even have any time to process the idea of there being werewolves and vampires and demons and stuff. It just kind of you just gotta wash it over him, you know. So he's just really physically strong and mentally strong in general, even when the books start. Also, in City of Bones, I'm in love with the dialogue. The dialogue is so, especially the dialogue of Jace, it's like, it's so serious, but at the same time, it's so incredibly hilarious, you can't stop laughing. There's some dialogue where it's like, oh, Jace, and then there's some dialogue where also it's funny and it's witty and it's like, oh, you anger me, you know, that kind of thing. It gives you a lot of emotions in one. This book. So, moving on to City of Ashes. This book is, obviously, it's still Clary, and it's still Jace, it's still Simon. So many things happen in this book that you're like, what? There's this one specific thing at the end of City of Bones that happens, and it throws everything for a loop, and I can't tell you what it is because it would be a major spoiler, so I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to keep my spoilers down. But something happens at the end of City of Bones, and it throws the romances for a loop, and it's just like, oh my god, what's happening? was, I don't remember how many pages this was. This was 453 pages, and I read this one in 2 days as well. So this one was really good. Let me address some things. The first one, the first thing that happens in this book, you're not expecting it whatsoever. And it has to involve with Simon, or it involves Simon, and it's like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And, so there's a spoiler coming up, so if you guys don't want to hear this spoiler and you're planning on reading the book, please mute it right now, and I will do like a hand signal when you guys can come back. So Simon in this book, if you remember what I said about City of Bones, City of Bones, they go to Hotel Dumont because Simon turns into a rat and they have to save him, and he bites a vampire to get him off of Clary or something, and so he gets vampire blood in his mouth, and so in City of Ashes, he's attacked by vampires and he gets bitten, and he has blood in his system. Like, if you just get bitten by a vampire in these books, you won't turn into one. But if you have vampire blood in your system and like you consumed it and then they bite you, and so he has to, like, the main vampire or whatever tells him, oh, he's got to dig this grave so he can come back out and become a vampire. So that's basically what happens. And in this one, he has to tell his mom that he is undead, and that's the scene where he has to tell his mom he's undead is so incredibly heartbreaking. It's so sad because she freaks out on him and she's just like, you're a monster, you're not Simon, and he has to leave, and he has to like talk to his mom, and she's just like, is this a dream? And he's just like, yeah, this is a dream, you're sleeping. And so he has to pack up and he has to leave basically, and it's so the second thing I really enjoy is how witty Isabella is. Like, it's so funny. You know, you don't really expect her to be the kind where she's just like, she makes everything a joke. But in City of Ashes, she's so witty and it's hilarious. She's like, there's one scene where Alec, her brother, is like, how did you not get dirty, or how did you not get mud on your clothes? And she's just like, I'm pure at heart, it repels the dirt. And it's just, it's so funny. Like, you have to read the scene. The next thing that you see in City of Ashes is, even in City of Bones, you see Jace being vulnerable. That's not normal. At the end of City of Bones, obviously something happens, and he has to deal with this, and so he's just like, I fell in love with a girl, and then this happens, and he's just like, maybe I'm just not meant to be happy, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe because of who I am, who he thinks he is, I shouldn't be happy, you know, that kind of thing, and it's so depressing, and he's so vulnerable because of Clary, and I'm like, Clary. The last thing I'm going to go over is kind of the end of City of Ashes, I guess. There's this, Valentine is on this giant boat in the middle of like the Hudson River or something, I don't know. Jason, Clary, and all the Shadowhunters and stuff go to the boat to defeat him, I guess, because he's summoning demons and they have to get rid of it. They have to get rid of the demons and they have to, you know, help retrieve the cup and the sword back, and because both of those mortal instruments are stolen by Valentine, so they have to retrieve them before demons come, and they're too late, and they have to fight demons, and they have to fight Valentine, and something happens to Simon, and something happens to Maya, and it's just like, oh my god, I'm dying. And the boats, like, the scene when the boat, like, yeah, that kind of thing, it's so like, what just happened? Now I'm going to be serious. On a scale of 1 to 10 with City of Bones, I give City of Bones an 8. Probably. It was good, but it wasn't my favorite. But so I'm gonna give this one an 8. City of Ashes, I'm going to give 8.5 or a 9. The movie The Mortal Instrument City of Bones comes out August 21st. So please go see it because I want to go see it, and hopefully I will. Hopefully, because it's the day before school starts. So hopefully, yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys soon. Mwah.